Duke special there with Freewheel. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. We just started the Irish Jam until 4 o'clock. Kealan Duignan here, taking you through all the best of Irish music. And news of some Irish art coming to London very soon. I've got actress Sharon Sexton here beside me. Sharon, welcome on the Irish Jam.
Hello, thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for coming in. So Sharon, tell us a bit about yourself. I know you've been living in London for the last few years, currently in Billy Elliot, and you did 2 shows yesterday. I know
2 shows. The first Paddy's Day, I've worked since I was about 16, I think. 2 shows in Billy Elliot yesterday, but they made a bit of an effort. Some of the girls wore green, and there was a little green shamrock kind of paper pom-pom on my dressing room door, so it was nice, but oh my God, I made up for it last night.
And how long have you been involved in Billy Elliot?
Just a year, but the show's been running for 11 years. It's closing now in about 4 weeks' time. So it's going to be the end of an era there. So I got in for the last year. I'm like a curse. I started the show and then it closes a year later. But anyway, yeah.
And you're originally from Nice.
That's right, yeah.
Fellow Kildare person. It's good to have another Kildare person on the show.
Yeah.
When did you first start get involved in acting? Was it back in Nice?
Yeah, it was. I was with, I started in Nice Musical Society all those years ago when it started. And did a couple of shows, and then went to Dublin. I went to DIT actually, and they did the drama course there for 3 years and the singing course, and set up a little production company. So started making my own work, and then I did a lot of musical theatre work at home. So I did Aikino and Anglo the Musical and a couple of things in the National Concert Hall and with Festival Productions, Oliver, and so a lot of musical theatre stuff. And then the Commitments opened in London a couple of years ago, and that's what brought me over here.
And what role did you play in the Commitments?
I actually covered the 3 girls.
Okay,
so,
the Commitmentettes.
The Commitmentettes, exactly. Imelda, Bernie and Natalie, and I got on for all of them as well within the year, which was brilliant. It was a lot of work, but it was an amazing starting point over here, because this city is so, it's so big and it's so overwhelming. I moved over with a family, do you know what I mean? Because there was so many of us that came over. So it was a real Irish building for the 2 years that it was there. So it was a nice kind of eased me into it.
Okay, and you're a local Wandsworth resident, so how do you like living in Wandsworth?
I love it. I love the space here. I'm up in between Wandsworth Common and Tooting Beck, so I'm around that area, which is just lovely. It's so peaceful. You feel like you're a million miles outside of London sometimes, you know. It's got its own little character. I love it.
Yeah, lovely. So this play that you're working on at the moment, we were just briefly chatting about it. And it's just you.
It's just me.
Is this the first time you've done something like that?
No, I've done a one-woman show before, which I still do, which is Somewhere Under the Rainbow. It's the Liza Minnelli story. So I do that, and I've done that with in the Edinburgh Fringe, and we're doing it in Brighton Fringe actually this year as well, and did it in Dublin in the Olympia and stuff. But that's different because for Act 2 I have an accompanist, I have a pianist, usually Ivan McKenna, and he plays along with me, so you can have a bit of banter. Act 1 is me on my own in the dressing room, but Act 2 there's somebody else there, and also my husband wrote it, so I just get up and I do the part, whereas this is my first time writing anything, A Fit Wife for a Revolutionary. So I've written it and I'm doing it and I'm producing it, and I must be mad. It seemed like a really good idea a year ago, and now it's like, oh, it's actually happening.
So it happened a year ago. You started planning it. So what was the nucleus of it, and what kind of were you trying to think of something to do to coincide with the 2016
Absolutely.
anniversary?
And I'm not a massive history buff, but I always I did do history in school, and 1916 I was fascinated about it. I really was when learning all about it, and in secondary school, and it really stuck with me, like it does I think with every Irish person, do you know what I mean? It's a massive part of our history. And I had a couple of books that I had ordered thinking maybe I might do something on it, and they were sitting on the bookshelf in Dublin, because this was years ago, and when I moved over to London, you can't take everything. So there was a selection of books that made the cut, and they were one of them. And they were sitting on, when we moved to Wandsworth last year, they were sitting on the shelf, and I just took one down and I went, next year, I'm going to have a look at this. So I started going through some of them, and then I decided to start focusing on the women, because there was so little about them, which was quite hard. I found an amazing book by Liz Gillis, which is Women of the Rising, and read that, which was the starting point. I went, there's so many stories of the women of the rising that haven't been documented, that there's been, they've kind of been forgotten through the years. A lot of focus has been put on the men and of the 7 signatories and the leaders and that. So I started gathering little bits and pieces, finding all of these stories, and Kathleen Clarke's name was one that just kept coming up. again and again and again. And then I got a copy of her memoirs, and then that was it. I was hooked.
Okay, so Kathleen Clarke, some people that are aware of the signatories will have heard of Thomas Clarke, presumably. Yeah. So Kathleen was Thomas's wife.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell us a bit more about the woman she was.
Well, I had never heard of her. I knew, that they were some of them that were married. There was weddings then in Kilmainham Jail as well, of course, and there was some of them that weren't. And Kathleen Clarke, I thought, was just, a wife, as you say. But I've tried really hard to not describe her as Thomas Clarke's wife, because now she's so much more than that. You realise when you look into her. She was probably the only female member of the IRB, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and the reason being was that they all knew when they went into the rising that when they started it, that they were either going to end up in prison or being exiled, possibly dead. I don't know if they were expecting to be executed, but they knew that if they were all taken, that the movement would stop and that all the work would need to keep going. So they had to pick somebody who could keep all of their documents and all of their money and their finances, and all of the breadwinners, of course, were going out to fight in the rising, so there was a lot of families left behind. So somebody that could keep the movement going, and so they selected Kathleen and they swore her in, and they left everything with her, which meant for the week of the rising, she couldn't be part of the fighting. She had to stay out of the line of fire. So she was left in her own house for the entire week by herself. Which to me is fascinating, because she heard her brother out fighting and her husband, who was the first signatory on the proclamation, and she was also the president of the central branch of Come On a Man in Dublin. So everyone she knew was out and part of it, but she had to stay out of it. And then after, of course, when it finished, she was one of the people that spearheaded the campaign to keep going. So,
okay. So the play, does that take in what happens after the rising as well?
No, it was really hard.
What's the timeline of it?
It's the week. It's literally the week, because it was really hard to find out. Like, she had such a distinguished political career afterwards. She was the first female Lord Mayor of Dublin, and she achieved so much more in her life. She got Ireland the first Red Cross branch, and she did so much, but I had to stop it. And I won't tell you exactly where in case you come to see the play.
Sure.
But it's just the week. So it goes from Good Friday right through the rising, right through the following week until the following Sunday, until the executions, basically. So it's that week for her, which was just massively intense.
Okay, how do you prepare for a one-woman show? It must be incredibly energy-consuming. I know you say you're working with your husband on it. He's the director.
That's right.
So how much preparation does something like this take?
The script has taken a lot of work, because, as I was saying to you before we started as well, it's about trying to find the balance, because there's so much facts. There's so much facts. Really well spoken there, Sharon. There's so much facts. There are so many facts, but there's so much history, and there's so many things that you want to cram into it. But at the same time, you have to try and create a character. And there's the pressure, of course, as well, that it's a real person. So I had to try and stay really true to her voice and her memoirs, but also have to make it be something that people actually care about. So there's a lot of personal stories in there. And when she wrote her memoirs, it's very fact-based. It's very, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I'm trying to dig beyond that to try and find a character and the person and what she must have been feeling emotionally and what must have been going through her head. And that's not down there, because she wrote the memoirs purposefully so that her account could be remembered. Do you know what I mean? So it's like baking a cake. Like, I'm trying to mix all of those things together to just make it a really strong piece of theatre, that you can get a bit of information, that you get to know Kathleen, but that you come away feeling not that you've been preached to or that you've learned something, but that you've, it's been an experience more than anything else. So that's been the hardest part. The energy, I haven't even dealt with that yet. It'll just happen. When you put yourself under that kind of pressure, it just comes out. It always does.
Yeah.
She says, touching wood.
and working with hubby every day, is that challenging sometimes?
Yeah, it is. But we run a little company. We run Biscuits for Breakfast, which is our own theatre company. So we've been running it for 10 years now. So we kind of have it fine-tuned at this stage. Myself and Kealan, we know when to stop talking shop, but it's really difficult when you're because we're both so passionate about theatre and stuff as well, and we've directed each other and written stuff together before, that we could get locked into a battle in a rehearsal room for 20 minutes over a syllable in a word, and whether I should stand on it or whether I should sit, and what that means. And you can get so heated over a debate like that, and then have to go, right, now we need to go to your auntie's 50th now. Right, we have to just put that away. So it's a skill that we've perfected over time.
And Kathleen Clarke, does she have any living ancestors? Are you aware?
Yeah, she does. It was actually her grandniece, Helen Lytton, who gathered all of her memoirs and edited them together in the book, which is called Revolutionary Woman. And that I met with her because I approached her before Christmas and just went, look, here's the idea, here's what I want to do. And she's been very supportive because I think there's been so much talk about the signatories, as I was saying, that a lot of a lot of the work that the women have done has gone unremembered or kind of uncelebrated. So I think she was quite happy that somebody would give a voice to Kathleen's story again. So, so far so good. And I sent the script and there hasn't been any negative feedback. So, yeah.
Cool. No,
that's good.
That's nice to hear. That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
So when you're finished a fit wife for a revolutionary, what's happening with you in your career, in your acting career, that you're going to move on to after that?
Well, it's funny because Billy Elliot, I've got the show, which is I should get the dates in as well. So it's in the London Irish Centre and it's from Tuesday the 29th until Saturday the 2nd. So it's actually the week of Easter, which seemed like a good idea at the time. And now a lot of people are going away. So if you're hanging around London, do come. It's an hour and 10 minutes. And it's that week is the second last week of Billy Elliot. So I've got that week. Then I'll go into Billy Elliot for the final week of the show before it closes. And then, Brighton Fringe with Liza and a couple of bits and pieces over the summer. So we'll just see what happens. That's the name in this game. You've got to be out of work to get work. So
Sure. Well, keep us informed through Twitter and everything and
Yeah, I
Facebook.
will do.
And we'll try and promote you through the show. But Sharon's been generous enough to offer up a couple of tickets for grabs for anyone who'd like to enter a competition. I have tweeted and I have Facebooked about Sharon coming on the show today, and I've put on Facebook and Twitter for you to like or to retweet anything that's promoting Sharon's show. So if you do that, your name will go into the hat, and I'll pull out a name at the end of the show. I'll forward you the details, Sharon, and we'll set up a couple of tickets for someone who wants to go and see the show. So it's a fit wife for a revolutionary in the London Irish Centre in Camden, Tuesday the 29th of March till Sunday the 3rd of April at 8 o'clock, and tickets are at £12. And just I'll post up all the links as well for the play. So it's at K Clarke Play 1916 on Twitter, Biscuits for Breakfast Theatre on Facebook, and you can check out the London Irish Centre website, of course, for more
and you can
details
get
on
tickets through the London Irish Centre website as well. There's a box office there, so you can click on the link.
Excellent stuff. You're going to be a busy woman. I wish you the
am
best
indeed.
of luck, and
Thank you
I
very
hope it
much.
goes well. And it's nice to speak to
Cheers,
a fellow
thank you.
Kildare person.
Yeah, go on. Thanks very much for having me on.
No worries. Thanks very much, Sharon. Sharon Sexton there. I hope you can go and see her play. All right, a bit of music coming up next. A new track from All Twins on the way, but here's Snow Patrol.